GBV has become a norm, which shouldn't be the case. I have been a victim, but today I choose to speak out for myself and for other women out there. Let us raise our voice against GBV, and we can fight it together.
Everybody to the Raised Voices podcast. This is episode 4, and today we are focusing on climate justice and gender-based violence, and we're joined by some fabulous guests in both Zambia and in what is currently known as Canada, and I will hand it over to my friends at Nia Pachuma to start us off.
My name is Primrose Dube. I'm a university student pursuing a bachelor's degree in environmental education and management.
My name is Eunice Kapambwe. I'm a student at the University of Zambia pursuing my bachelor's degree in environmental education and management.
My name is Ivy Nambe. I'm a student at the University of Zambia pursuing a bachelor's degree in media and journalism studies.
My name is Audrey Chimba. I'm a lecturer for gender studies at the National Institute of Public Administration.
My name is Josephine Coys-Lozelle, and I live in Amiskwaciwâskahikan, Edmonton. I've been working with Videa since 2021, and I'm currently coordinating projects here on Turtle Island, but one of the ones I'm very passionate about is the climate team and the conservation work we're doing. So yes, that's me. I'll pass it to you, Stephanie.
Tanse, Stephanie White, Nitsigasu, Amiskwaciwâskahikan, Otinia, and I work with the Videa with the climate team. When we're currently doing a conservation project for water in Amiskwaciwâskahikan.
Hello, everybody. My name is Chilesha Ndlovu. I'm a counselor with the National Legal Aid Clinic for Women in Lusaka, Zambia. So today's discussion is on the effect that climate change and the connection that it has with gender-based violence. As we know, climate change has brought in a lot of poverty, and poverty is one of the biggest causes of gender-based violence and sextortion too. So today that's what we're discussing with the rest of the team from Nyapachuma. So I'll start with discussing where the connection is between climate change and gender-based violence. As we know, poverty is known to have a woman's face, and women are the ones who are in the forefront to bring for food security in the home, and also to make sure that everything in the home goes smoothly. So once there's poverty in the home, the woman is the one who's affected the most. She's the one who goes further because before the home gardens used to be just outside the house to feed the family, and now because of the climate change, which has brought about floods, which has brought about droughts, women have had to go further and further to find food to feed the family. And Eunice, you have something to add on to that, don't you?
Yes. So just to add on to what she has said, we'll take this back to the context of Zambia. So last year we experienced flash floods as a country as well as droughts, but I'm going to focus more on the droughts. So whilst I was doing my attachments at the Lusaka City Council, it was so disheartening to see people being displaced from their homes due to the floods that accumulated in their houses, the the houses were full of water and couldn't accommodate them, and couldn't even accommodate the babies that were there. So the government had to chip in, though it was delayed. So the DMMU had to come in, and the people in these compounds were given shelter, temporary shelter, and also the government had to also chip in terms of providing food for them. So we can see this led to people not having an option to be, like they needed that accommodation. So they ended up being clustered in one place, men, women, and also the children. So I think what the government could have done, they would have given women their own specific rooms, as well as the children and also the men separately, to reduce on the exploitation, and also just for privacy's sake. Yes.
So also, in relation to climate change, what pressures it has put on GBV and sextortion. So last year in February, the president had declared a state of emergency in Zambia. So experiencing a drought that was so immense for the first time in Zambia. So women and girls, especially in the rural areas, had to have to find ways to navigate, to find ways of how to draw water. So this prompted girls, especially between the ages of 15 and 12 and also 16. So girls, instead of them to go to school, they opted to go to cover long distances and draw water. So this also posed as a form of GBV in terms of economic challenge, because instead of girls being in school, but they were subjected to go draw water and cover long distances such as 15 kilometers and also 5 kilometers just to draw water and put into the household. Yeah, like, so from my own perspective, how climate change impacts GBV, how it brought about the rise in GBV cases. So in our local communities, like where I come from to be specific, due to the problems or the factors that my colleagues have brought out, such as floods and the droughts, a lot of women came up with the other alternatives in order for them to find income for their families. You could find a woman who'd rise up at 4 in the morning, going to a big market to order food items in order for her to sell and to get an income for her family. So what happens behind is that she leaves children, maybe she has 6 or 5 children. She leaves them at home under the care of an older sibling among them. So in most cases, like those people or those women's, their children, they do not go to school. We find them staying behind home, not going to school. They're exposed to different people in society, different people with different views on those children. So when a woman goes out there to find income, to find food for her children, the children are left behind in the hands of an older child. So in order for them to survive, there are so many situations in the communities. Like here in Zambia, to be specific, we have what we call junkies. They are these guys who do not have employment, who drink alcohol, who abuse substances. So the girls, those who remain behind, they are at risk of them being defiled. They are at risk of them being raped in exchange for maybe money or food. An older person would meet a young girl and tell her, I'll give you money, sleep with me. So a girl is pressured, knowing that back home mom is not there, she has not left anything for them to eat. So what will she do? She'll just accept, she'll fall into the trap of that older person. She ends up being raped, being defiled, and her rights are being taken away from her.
Yes, I'll come in as well. When we're talking about the impact that climate change has brought about, especially here in Zambia, I'll also give an example of what happened some time back in the Kanyama compound. I'm sure Zambians, you saw to say, that place was flooded, and it brought about displacement, displacement of women, and not just women, but even the men. So now, how does GBV come in, even sextortion? You find that as these women were being displaced, they were being taken advantage of by the people that were actually caregivers. I'll give an example of even the police. Some of these women were taken to shelters, others to seek refuge in areas where they did not even expect. But at the end of the day, these people that were taking care of them were exploiting them as they were going around to look for fetch for water and other necessities like food and so on. They were not getting these things for free. In some instances, we had situations where even their own relatives were taking advantage of them, which was some form of sextortion and even GBV. So this climate change that we're talking about in Zambia, especially, has impacted negatively on the Zambian women as well as the men, because we cannot leave out the men. Whilst we understand to say women are usually the victims, we also have a situation where even some boys, some men are also victims of such vices.
And another thing that climate change has brought about is the high unemployment rates, where men who were traditionally providers are not in employment anymore because there's no one to employ them, because if they are farm workers or even factory workers, because of climate change, they don't have these jobs anymore. So the burden now has gone to women to take care of the family, and these women are under so much pressure. They need to take their children to school, they need to provide food, they need to do everything for the family, and because of that they have become very vulnerable, and this vulnerability has led them to doing anything that they can to look after their homes, to look after their families, to keep their homes, to make sure that they still have their children in school, and even in those same schools, to get those children into the schools, they'll still do anything to secure school places, to secure food, even to look for employment for their husbands in the few factories, in the few companies, in the few industries that are still running. They have taken it upon themselves. The burden is on them now to make sure that their husbands get employed as well.
Yeah. Okay, so to continue with what my elder has said, it has also brought an impact like for girls in universities. Like you see, these problems it's like a chain. So when one problem is baked, it leads to the birth of another problem. So I am coming from a rural setup, a rural kind of setup. So it happens that like from the recent drought that we had, my family did not manage like to harvest a lot of maize that would help them to sell out and have enough money to provide us who are in school and all those who are still living behind. So as a girl child who is in the university, knowing that from the family I'm coming from, my parents are unable to provide for me basic necessities that I need to run me through my university stay. There are situations that prompt me to be exposed to GBV. Such situations include here comes a man who is older than myself here. He promises to give me money. He promises to provide each and everything that I would need. He promises to pay rentals for my boarding fare at school. Knowing that where I'm coming from, there's no that support. If I'm not careful as a girl child, I would fall into that trap, ending up being defiled, ending up being raped by that a man in exchange for money that I know that from my home I do not have that kind of support. So this climate change has really hit bad when we talk about that kind of setup. So I'll try to echo what Primrose has just spoken about. So in relation to family level. So GBV, many people tend to understand it in a perspective of physical violence, but initially GBV can cut for emotional also. So I'll give an example for last year. My father was working, but he had to lose his job, and then now we were now forced to be led by my mother. So now this change also had to be new to us. And then there had to be like some tension where you're not used to your father providing, but now it's your mother now who is subjecting to other means of survival. So you get to a point where your home, where you live, the happiness that you once experienced is no more. So this also was caused by the climate change. And at my place, they really don't even understand that this was caused by the droughts or climate change rather, but they have to face it in a different way that they don't know about that it was caused by the drought. So again, in relation to what it can also pose on me as a university student, so there's no money at home. How do I survive at school? So now here will come a lecturer, or not even a lecturer, someone who is a tutor, I would say. Then they have this suggestion, no, I would like to help you pass your exams, or I would like to help you with money for grocery or your rentals for your boarding house. So what are you going to do? Because if you call at home, they're going to say, we're not working, we can't find the money. So you'll be therefore subjected to agree to the terms what your perpetrator is telling you to do. Yeah.
So you're saying in most institutions of learning, it's like the students agree when they're given terms, such terms to say, you'll pass.
Yes.
As long as I'm able to provide for you, it's okay.
Yes, that's what mostly happens. So
For me, I'm mostly interested in the boy child. Is the boy child also affected?
mostly when you come to university, boy child are affected if you are trying to pursue a girl who is needed by the lecturer. You get that plot of twist, like the lecturer is pursuing that girl and the boy child is also pursuing that girl. And again, I think the boy child is affected like when it comes to them knowing that back home they're unable to provide for them, they tend to abuse substances in order for them to keep up. They say when you abuse substances, you forget about your problems, but in reality, those substances, they damage them, their brain cells. So in that area, it affects them.
Maybe Chileshe, where is the law when it comes to such?
When it comes to girls being taken advantage of
Yes.
by lecturers and older men, there's the Anti-Gender Equity and Equality Act, which has very good provisions to protect children, to protect learners, to protect anybody who has suffered from gender-based violence. But they need to speak out. They need to speak up. They need to report so that action can be taken. It's a very good piece of legislature. It has everything covered, from shelters for if you're not comfortable to where you're living, for child-friendly or victim-friendly courthouses. It has everything covered, but we need to know that this is what is happening, and then we'll take action.
And again, from my side, I think the law is there. What is needed is implementation, like in most of the cases. And what is lacking mostly are the resources to help these women or girls who are being subjected to these impacts that arise from climate change. And another thing is ignorance or lack of information and education. When you go to the rural setups, very, very few are people who understand that the problems that we are facing as a country right now, they are from climate change. They have never even heard of climate change. They don't even know that there is climate change. So people need to understand and know at which the pace the world is moving at. So like women who are mostly subjected to these GBV cases and girls, they need to understand, like in our traditional setup, there are beliefs or myths that say you are not supposed to report a case. For example, when a girl child is raped by the uncle, they are not supposed to report it or tell the other person because it's a taboo. It's supposed to be kept in the family, within the family. So such cases have really brought down to people responding to these cases. We find that there are a lot of things that are happening in these societies, but people aren't coming out because of these taboos and the customs that we've come to know. So what is needed, I think, is more education, more awareness, more non-governmental organizations or the government itself would go into these rural areas, spread awareness, educate people, make people to know, say there's a law that protects you. Even if you report, you won't be killed by that uncle, but you'll be protected and find solution.
So just to add on what Primrose has said, so
Sorry, everybody. You all have so many amazing things to share. I could listen to you all day. But can we flip it over to this side to hear from Stephanie and Josie, and we'll come back to the Zambia side too.
Okay.
You all have so many amazing thoughts to share.
Yeah, I was gonna say I could listen to you forever too. You all have such amazing knowledge. Thank you. But yeah, I think it's really interesting listening because obviously in so-called Canada and Zambia, we're facing challenges very differently because of climate change. I think it affects us all in different ways, depending on where we are. But I feel like the underlying issues of, marginalization, and inequality and exploitation that you've been speaking on, I think are all very much shared, and we feel it. And yeah, it might just be a different way, but I think we're all experiencing it. And the climate crisis is just exacerbating issues that already exist, right? So yeah, I think, yeah, maybe Steph and I can just speak on that a little bit. And yeah, I think when I first was thinking about this topic, my first thought was just because here in Alberta, especially where we live, we've been dealing a lot with big fires, wildfires in our area. And so, yeah, it causes a lot of displacement and disconnection, primarily in Indigenous communities here. And so, because of this, yeah, people are having to move and often go into shelters and things like that, where yeah, it's just the risk of abuse and you know uh sextortion as well just go up. And yeah, that risk of violence is just, yeah, it's there, and it just often is more prominent, unfortunately. So I feel like that was one of the main things I thought of, was that. But then also, something you all spoke on as well is just the stress that is caused by the climate crisis, right? So whether it's working in a field that is you're lacking resources. I think a lot of people in Indigenous communities also work in the resource extraction business. And so yeah, now that we don't have or we're losing our resources, there's a higher need for that. And so I think that there's, yeah, that stress of knowing that it's not always going to be there, and I think people are realizing that. And yeah, I think I was going to say there's also a really very big issue here because we have a lot of like work camps for oil extraction in Alberta. And, just hear my echo. I don't know. Is it okay? Okay, it's gone. Sorry. But yeah, we often have a lot of yeah, male workers come into Indigenous communities. And yeah, often women and gender diverse people in those communities are taken advantage of. And yeah, again, the risk goes up and they just become more of unsafe environments. So yeah, they're very related. And I think yeah, it's just sad to see that, and like you were saying, I mean, in different ways, but I think, yeah, a lot of us women are, you know, very resilient, and I think we're doing a lot of the work, because of these like really big issues we're facing, and it's just too bad that, um, yeah, we're doing this hard work, but kind of facing the big repercussions of everything going on. Um, but yeah, I have some more points, but I'll pass it to Stephanie because I'm sure you're just wanting to talk so bad. You have so much to share.
Yeah, thank you, Josie, for touching on those topics. I wanted to like maybe just add that where we live in Alberta, Canada, our government here is very anti climate change and really promoting like resource extraction and also promoting very like dangerous, I guess, ideology that uh puts vulnerable people more at risk of violence. And in even in like the major city, it's become a dangerous place to even talk about climate change. And the people who are on the front lines and having these conversations and educating people about how their communities and how are affected by MMIW and by man camps and by like sextortion are usually like isolated, and the women are on the front lines. And these it's become, yes, so dangerous to talk about these issues, and less people are talking about them now. So also the government doesn't fund social projects because of their dangerous ideologies here. So even more so, there's less funding for like uh domestic violence shelters, and there's like not even enough resources for all the social issues that are happening, let alone like climate issues. And like the people that are most affected are Indigenous people. So in northern Alberta, it's called Treaty 8, is where most of the Indigenous people live and where most of the wildfires are happening and people are being displaced. So, sorry. There's a lot of there's a lot of non there's so little support. That's what he's saying. Like they're not I don't know. I'm disappointed. I know like, and another thing that I wanted to kind of just point out is that in the summertime, I live in a major city, and a lot of the days in the summer we're surrounded by wildfire smoke, and that like affects a lot of people's health and everything. So when people are displaced or they're inside, and then the economic like condition right now like leaves people more vulnerable to be exposed to like sextortion online. And so when it's smoky outside, more people are inside, and if people are needing help, they're going to reach out to people online, and other people are going to come and take advantage of that, right? So yeah, that's where I wanted to like touch on, but just that it's become such a dangerous thing to talk about here, so less people talk about it, and it's scary. uh and less people care. So I don't know. And it's so different, like, because in where we live, like in a major city, we're surrounded by things that are distracting us from like the things that are going on, right? So like whether that be ads or alcohol or like I don't know. There's so many things that are distracting us from the social issues that are happening, and that just contributes to like the effects that we're facing here. And I don't think people really realize how vulnerable we are because we're so dependent on these like systems of like the food systems and the government systems for like financial help and stuff like that. And the government is like purposely making it that way. And so when something like a wildfire happens, the only resource that's left is the government resources, and they just won't help. They just won't help. And it's just I don't know. There's so much that I need to learn too that I don't really know. But I would just want to say thank you so much for sharing today because I'm learning a lot and seeing how the things that are happening there are happening here differently and but still affecting us. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. Yeah, it is really interesting. Yeah, I think it's hard to articulate what I'm trying to say, but yeah, it's so interesting how it's like we're we're facing the same problem, but it's appearing different, but similar at the same time, if that makes sense. In our two communities, I think, yeah, we are facing very, very similar problems, even though it's in a different way, if that makes sense. Um, but yeah, there's just one point I wanted to add from before, um, and kind of just continuing off of what Stephanie was saying. Um, and yeah, I think that I just want to bring up how mental health I think is super involved in this as well. Because yeah, I think climate anxiety is like a very real thing. Um, and PTSD and depression are on the rise. And I think like particularly after big climate disasters like floods um and fires and droughts where you do have to move. Um and so I think, yeah, it just kind of exacerbates the domestic violence and kind of controlling behaviors within the home. Um, and yeah, especially in more rural and isolated areas in Alberta, we have even more limited access to shelters and social services. So, yeah, it just makes it that much harder to even seek help if you wanted to, um, which is really tough. And then I think another thing is just for gender diverse folks in Canada and specifically in Indigenous communities, um, I think there's a higher risk as well because they're already facing discrimination. So then, yeah, I think a lot of shelters are really just not welcoming spaces for the LGBTQ2S plus community, and I think, yeah, there's a lot of homophobia and transphobia within communities, and when they're isolated like that in times of crisis, yeah, it just gets worse. And again, like it also, I think, goes into sextortion as well, because then these vulnerable people are yeah, even more kind of in this space where they would be more inclined, just if they're in an economic stressful place, that they would be more inclined to try to exchange resources or whatever they need in exchange for something from themselves. And so I think, yeah, I don't know. It affects so much in different ways. It just almost like bleeds out, and there's so many different branches off that are all affected. But yes, I don't know if if the Neopachuma ladies wanted to add anything, or anything we said made you think of something.
I can like maybe start off with the next prompt. So like when I think of like solidarity, I think of uh like mutual aid. So in the terms of how we help each other in our own communities. So like say I own a business, I could employ somebody and they could come and work for me. Or if I needed clothes, somebody could help me with clothes and then I could go help them with something that they need. And or if I needed help to grow a garden, then somebody could teach me. Or if I needed seeds, we could trade. So like working together in our own communities to like promote that kind of solidarity and what that looks like. So there's so many different ways that we can work together. But an unfortunate thing is right now, and because of colonialism and capitalism, we need to more than ever stop just thinking about ourselves and start thinking about how we can like help our communities and each other, because these systems of oppression are going to continue affecting us. And we like at the bottom line of all that is that we just need to start working together and helping each other, and whatever that looks like in our communities. So like helping each other to grow food, helping each other like meet just our basic needs so that we can come together and like solve the bigger issues together. Because or else a lot of us are just trying to meet our basic needs over and over and over again, because of the effects of these like oppressive systems. We only think about ourselves or just our families. So we need to transition to like helping our communities and what that looks like, right?
So, just to add on what Stephanie has said, looking at how technology has advanced in the recent years, I think we can use that to deliver mental health services and support survivors of gender-based violence, particularly those who are in vulnerable communities. We can also support each other through joint awareness campaigns by using social media and local networks to increase awareness about climate change and GBV, and also so that people are able to share their experiences and also get solutions from both regions.
Okay, so I would also want to echo what Eunice has said. So, looking at, we are facing the same challenge, but it's different at the same time, because what you guys are facing in Canada is different from what we are facing here in Zambia. So, for example, if you go deep in the village, in Dundazi district in Eastern Province, I'll say, or in Southern Province, Livingston, people there are not aware of what climate change really is. They do not know. So in partnering with Canada and Zambia, I feel like we should be able to enhance awareness. So if we want to enhance awareness in in remote areas in Zambia, we cannot use social media. So social media in the rural part, in the most remote parts of the country, social media, people there have not access to it. So in this regard, we are supposed to have a network or an awareness campaign that involves probably being able to meet with local leadership in these remote areas so that people are aware and know how climate change has come about. Others will know that cutting trees is the cause, but they do not know that there are other causes such as fossil fuels, burning fossil fuels, and other companies that are releasing toxic air in the air. So these are some of the challenges that here in Zambia we have, that people do not know that the cause of climate change is as a result of human habits. Yeah, and also I think I would also try to say also when in relation to campaigns, social media, like she said, social media is also a key to other people who know but choose to be ignorant about it. Yeah. And again, from my side, I think one of the solutions that can be put in place is that in both countries, like from both countries, let me say so, environmentalists or conservationists could rise up and advocate for the environment, because in order for us to solve this problem, yes, quite right, climate change is here. We've learned like it's here to stay with us. So what we need to do is that find in measures in order for us to adapt and move on with our life. So I think advocates should rise up and hold the government accountable. In as much as countries are trying to develop their economic sector, they should also consider putting in place measures or ways in which they will mitigate those problems that they're inflicting on the environment. If you go with mining, if you go with agriculture, consider the impacts that agriculture or mining is causing on the environment, and consider in bringing ways to mitigate those impacts that are coming with those ways that you are putting in order for you to develop. So there is need for advocates to rise up, speak to the government, tell the government what really is needed to be done in order to fight against this climate change, in order for us to survive.
Yeah, and that's like
Um,
really awesome. That there's a lot of people doing that work. But I think that if people's needs were met to first, more people could do this work. That's just what I was trying to say before, is that if people's needs are met, if they have food or a job and access to like help or resources for their community, then more people can learn about these things and have the energy to be able to advocate and be at those tables, right?
Yes, yes. So people really need to understand the genesis of climate change. So like she has said too, that climate change is here to stay. And we need to find ways in which we can try and mitigate. And one of these ways is through teaching people, showing people through targeting small group people that have got groups, and then you teach them how they can adapt to effective ways on how to navigate and mitigate the effects of climate change.
Just in addition, we also need to ensure that we vote for leaders that prioritize climate change. Sometimes you might have leaders, they are there, but when it comes to issues that really affect the citizens, they don't even care. So once we have people that are so concerned in issues affecting the citizens, like climate change and so on, then we'll be good to go. So we need to ensure that we put in place leaders that are able to work, leaders that prioritize climate change.
I feel like also Stephanie had said that also, like the government, you said, that doesn't really care about, they're like pushing for climate change, instead of trying to eliminate or trying to mitigate or navigate the issue, but they're really trying to push the agenda of ways that are increasing the effects of climate change. So voting for leaders that will stand against mining that is not following environmental rules, and also burning unnecessarily fossil fuels, and also cutting down, especially cutting down of trees. In Zambia is a very big issue. Cutting down of trees for charcoal production is a very big issue here in Zambia. So if we have leaders that will put in laws that will stop or hinder people from cutting down trees, then that's another way of trying to navigate through this issue.
Yeah, thank you. I was just gonna add on to how we were talking about some solutions or what we could do better to kind of connect with this sense of solidarity we have with each other. And yeah, I think just generally, like, it's really important to support community-led solutions, especially by women and by Indigenous people and youth and gender diverse individuals who are already doing that work, both in Zambia and Canada. And yeah, I think there are some like grassroots organizations who are already tackling both climate adaptation and gender-based violence. So to try to just like hone in on the people who are already doing that work. And yeah, I think just the idea of trying to connect each other is important because yeah, we just keep coming back to the fact that it is felt in such a similar way. And so like as an example, maybe there could be, let's say there's some kind of like a women-led farming collective of some kind in one of the chiefdoms surrounding Lundazi, and they have insights about drought resilience or something that they face specifically because of climate change there. And then it could be really cool for them to share that and kind of inspire people here in Canada who are farming in rural Alberta as well, right? Because we do have those similarities. And yeah, I think just connecting and first of all, just like creating that sense of community and being like, wow, we are so similar in that sense that we're dealing with this in similar ways. But then, yeah, I think it's important to continue to try to uplift people who are already doing this work and try your best to do it yourself. So yeah, in any environment you're in, like continued discussion around this kind of thing. And yeah, like we were saying before, a lot of people just don't even have the education on what climate change is and how it affects us, right? So just starting with that, I think, is really important. And yeah, I think like the youth are, people say the leaders of tomorrow, but it's like we're leading now, right? So I think it's really important that we we're leaders of today. So I think we need to really hone in on like fostering those community spaces and sharing that knowledge and hoping to kind of inspire people to talk to others around them. And just I think it's important because I think some people aren't necessarily against doing climate work or trying to help with what's going on, but they just don't know how or don't even know exactly how it's presenting itself. So sharing this podcast is going to be awesome. I'm very excited for that because there's a lot of people I think who could be supports and who do face these issues head on, right? And we just need to connect because we're all in this together. And I think especially in this climate crisis, it's just so important that we work together because we're all going to be facing the repercussions together, right? So but this is so cool. It's really cool hearing both perspectives. I'm really enjoying this conversation.